going to go through a couple of direct proportion questions from previous exams, just to give you an idea as to how they worked out. They're quite nice to solve. The method is the same for each one. As we know, then two things that are proportional to each other, they're increasing. Both of them are increasing. So here in this question, we know that P is proportional to Q. Doesn't say directly, but we assume it is. Otherwise, it would say inversely proportional. So P is proportional to Q, and we write that using the proportionality symbol, which is a bit like an alpha symbol. P is proportional to Q. We then change it into an equation, and we introduce our proportionality constant. So P is equal to K times Q. Now we need to work out what K is. We use the values they've given us in the question. P is 48 and Q is 0.6. So P is 48, and that's equal to K times 0.6. And we can work out K then by dividing by the 0.6. Divide the 0.6 over here. 48 divide 0.6 is K. Right, so you can either use your calculator if calculator's permitted, or well, if not, well, we can just do, I don't like dividing by 0.6, so if I multiply top and bottom by 10, I can divide 480 by 6 to get the same answer, which is 6 into 48 is 8, and then with a 0 on the end, so K is 80. Once we've got what K is, we then go back to our equation. So we can bring our equation down here and we substitute the value for K. P equals 80Q. So there's our equation linking P and Q together. We now need to find these values that it says in the question here. So first of all, find the value of P when Q is 12. So we'll use this equation. When Q is 12, that will give us P equals 80 times 12. Well, 12 eighths are 96, so that will be 960. And the next part, find the value of Q when P is 9.6. So P is 9.6 this time. 9.6 is equal to 80 Q. Now I've got to get Q on its own, so I divide by 80. 9.6 divide 80 equals Q. Well, you can use your calculator, but if you're not allowed, how can we do that? Well, I can recognize that 9.6, well, 96 is in the 8 times table, and 80 is in the 8 times table. Q is equal to, so I'm going to divide them both by 8. Well, 96 divide 8 is 12, so 9.6 divide 8 is 1.2. 80 divide 8 is 10. And I can divide by 10 easily now. Q is 1.2 divide 10, which is 0.12. I can put those in my answer there. P equals 960. Q equals 0.12. There we are. So that was a straightforward one. A bit more difficult when you have C is directly proportional to the square of D. So this time we need to rewrite the start. C is proportional to D squared, and then everything else is the same. We change it to an equation. C equals K D squared, and we can work out our proportionality constant by putting in the values of C and D that they give us in the question. C is 18, D is 1.5. So 18 is equal to K times 1.5 squared. 1.5 squared, well, again, if you can use your calculator, fair enough, but if not, then we've got to think about 15 squared. 15 squared is 225, so 1.5 squared is 2.25, and now we just divide by 2.25 here. 18 over 2.25 equals k. Well, either use your calculator if you're allowed again, or, well, can we divide by 2.25? Well, not necessarily, but we don't need to, because we can remove this decimal. If we double everything there, like using equivalent fractions, double everything there, we get 36 over 4.5. Double everything again, that would become 72 divided by 9. I can do that now nice and easy. 72 divided 9 is 8. So I found my proportionality constant, which is 8. I can write the expression for C in terms of D. C is equal to 8d squared. Now I've got these values to work out. Calculate C when D is 2.3. So C equals 8 times 2.3 squared. I will use my calculator here now. So 8 times 2.3 squared, that's equal to 42.32. And finally, calculate the possible values of D when C equals 98. So the other way round now. So C is 98, that's 98 equals 8 times D squared. Divide by the 8 to get D squared on its own. So 98 divide 8 equals D squared. So D squared is equal to 98 divide 8, 12.25, and D is going to be the square root of 12.25. Now in the question, calculate the possible values, plural. So there's going to be 2 answers. You must remember, when you take the square root of a number, it could be a negative number as well. Square root of 12.25 is 3.5, so our answer could be plus or minus 3.5. Direct proportion.